Welcome to Open Chat. There's an entire reason why I used the what the meme for the picture today. But first, I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. So let's pull it up here, shall we? All right. Hello, Chairman. Hello, Sean B. Good to see my one token audience member. So, yeah. So, folks, we got changing hours because we all know I start by ranting about my job every live chat. So, because the influx of calls and pretty much every single day be like Black Friday, right? The higher ups have decided to start limiting hours. Now, I'm not losing any hours, but it's back to early morning wake-ups as probably about around 3:30, 4:30 in a.m., which sucks. It was kind of like getting up at a normal hour. Such is life, right? But yeah, we don't know where this influx has been coming from, but it's been going on for several months straight, and everybody's near complete, utter burnout, and Wayfair's trying to hold on to us, so that's what's been going on there. All right, so was I the only one who caught it by the off chance, and I did do a video on it before I had to charge the computer again, of that idiotic article about JD and sprucing up his house in West Hollywood? Did anybody else find that stupid other than me? Because what in the actual hell? Work for Wayfair. If sprucing up your house is somehow reckless, then every single person I talk to, every single day, back to back to back to back to back, the way that I do, are also reckless. Because I get calls all day, every day of people who need wood flooring, tiles, and I kiss you knew, may they die in the fire, those horrible freaking barn doors. I hate those calls with my whole soul, folks, my whole soul. But I get those calls day in and day out. The idea that you are trying to spare a person by using something that people do all day, every day, and this is the bottom of the barrel that we're scraping now. Also, I read into the article. Well, he took out a loan to do it. That must mean he's broke. No, it doesn't. Speaking as someone who's broke on a semi-regular basis, I can tell you no bank that I walk into is going to loan my call center jockey butt $10 million for anything. Okay? You don't get a loan unless you have the collateral to back it up. Right? He's already paid it off. Why do they keep trying to portray him as broke all the time? They keep trying to insist he's failing, he's struggling for money, like he's going to be working with my butt at Wayfair and I'll see his butt on Slack or something. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. He's not going to work at McDonald's. Honestly, I don't think the man would care all that much, but is this how far the media is now from reality? Have they moved so far beyond the rest of us so-called peons that they don't understand the concept of what broke actually looks like? Because it looks a little something like this behind me. You know, I don't have my own island. I can't go by Pythian Castle downtown. Totally would too. Totally would buy Pythian Castle. Look it up. Some crazy stuff and some crazy stories about that place. Why are they writing this? Why is his finances anyone's business? It bothers me, folks. It bothers me. And when that went over, like, it didn't, then somebody decided to spread the false rumor that a video he did as part of a promo for the release of Jan Dubari, which I'm probably horribly mispronouncing, for the Russian audiences of said movie, was somehow saying that he would be in Russia soon and that somehow that makes him a supporter of Putin. I'm sorry, what? Pretty sure Russia has their own cinema. Pretty sure it was around even during the days of the Soviet Union. I know, I've lived during that time. Pretty sure him releasing a movie in said country has nothing to do anyway whatsoever as far as his position on Russia and Ukraine. And it was a lie. Those so-called translated transcripts did not actually match what the man said in English on the video. They made up a big, malicious lie, riling people up over something that literally he never said. Because the media cannot resist beating a dead horse that's so dead that all there is left is bones. I don't know. Maybe it's the autism in me. I don't know. But why are we still doing this? Aren't they tired? Can they not move on to something else? We know their opinions. It's been stated numerous times. We got the memo. It's wrong, but we understand that for whatever reason you've decided to hate on this guy. Whatever. We get it. We get it. Why is this continuing? Why? And why is the media willfully ignoring Miss Singh's newest film that demonizes people like me, dehumanizes people like me, pushes cure culture on people like me, doing the neurotypical freaking savior trope that the entire indie community has been complaining about for well over a decade? Let's not even forget the racist tropes that are in that movie, because Miss White AH is going to go educate the ignorant people of color villagers. We're just going to ignore that and pretend that doesn't exist. But we're going to lambaste a guy for doing something that everybody around the world does every day, and we're going to make up false lies about them, even when there's a story staring us here in the face. Oh, and let's not... It bothers me nobody fact checks anymore. The fact that the person who watches the news every single night has to then go onto their computers and actually fact check what information we are being fed, because nobody can trust the media to not report without a bias anymore on literally anything. I don't know. The three of you watch it in your comments. What do you think about this? They just keep going after him, and there's no reason why. There are other stories going on. There's a war going on that weirdly, somehow, some idiot tried to use to smear something that has nothing to do with him. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. Sean B. Sadly, I don't think AH stands will stop focusing on what's going on with Johnny until each of them decide to move on with their lives. They're seemingly more obsessed with Johnny than they are with AH. I think if that man goes off to the bathroom, a public bathroom, while out and about, one of them's going to write about it. That's what it's gotten to at this point. I literally think if that poor man is just out and about and really needs to go take a piss somewhere, somebody out there, one of those stands, is going to take a picture of it and use it to somehow smear him. That is just, this is full-blown stalker behavior, and the media is applauding it. It's insane. But he was not the only one the media was attacking. I don't know if any of you watched the Britney situation, but it's just devolving beyond madness. All these media folks, free Britney, and the minute she's free, they go back doing to the same exact crap that got her locked in that conservatorship in the first place. And social media is not helping, because she does a video. She happily spins. She's got maybe a swimsuit bottom on. All of a sudden, everybody and their mother, oh, she's unhinged. She should be back in that conservatorship. Her family knew best. Few things. These are coming from the exact same individuals who think it's a brilliant idea to follow the Tide Pod Challenge. They give clicks and views to the Benadryl Challenge, the Tide Pod Challenge, the most recent idiocy where you have people jumping off boats going at full speed, people who have died doing this for clicks and likes. But she's the bad guy, and somehow she's deranged because she spins on camera, and there's not a professional filter on her while she does it. Are you kidding me right now? Now, am I going to say she is the picture of mental health? None of us who have PTSD are. We've got issues a mile long. We have triggers. We have all kinds of things going on with us. And for those of us who are already willfully and wonderfully weird and refuse to censor ourselves to make us more palatable to the freaking normies out there, it's ableist. It's ableist as hell. Because you can have little starlets dancing around, half nude, on camera, all the time. You can't turn your TV on without seeing it. Kim Kardashian, all those ilk have done the same things, and they get praised and they get called stunning and brave. But if Britney does it, she's unhinged. Does nobody else see this? Tell me what you think about this crap. I think we can all tell my opinion. Chairman, never heard of the Benadryl challenge. Unfortunately, I have, because I came across an article where a poor little boy about 10 to 11 years old had a TikTok and did the Benadryl challenge at a sleepover party with his friends. And the little boy died in spite of having his stomach pumped and being rushed to the hospital. Yeah. Kind of horrifying, isn't it? But what do you all think about this? Do you think that it is right to sit there and judge Britney Spears for spinning on camera and say that because she does these sort of things and posts them on her social media, that she deserved to be in her conservatorship, and the abuse and the robbing her blind of multi-billion dollars and dictate the entirety of her life? Because I know some pretty unhinged individuals. I don't think any of them belong in a conservatorship. Most of these people don't even know what these things are. I worked in the field. I know exactly what they are. Conservatorships basically strip the individual who's under one of every single bit of their human rights and autonomy in alphabetical order. No control of finances. Not allowed to vote. Not allowed to choose where you live, what you eat, who you live with, who your friends are. The list goes on and on. And for people who say that that's not what it was created for, they say that the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Every time you think you have a good idea, you need to factor in humanity. Because not everybody's going to have benign intentions. They can and will use, if you give someone absolute power over an individual. You know what they say about absolute power. Nobody should have that kind of power over anyone. No one should have absolute power. Period. And to sit there and say that that's what she needs to still have her human rights, her autonomy, her finances, her hard-earned money, that she deserves to be in a conservatorship because people are disturbed that she's willing to spin on camera without professional filters while cheering on these deranged challenges. I don't know. What do you all think? What do you think about this? Because, God, I'm so done. Done. Nobody comes against any of these other starlets doing stupid crap. No, I'm going to say it. Stupid shit. Insane shit that gets people dead. We're supposed to have compassion and understanding for them. But if she twirls on camera and tries to do what she can to find a form of happiness after all she's been through, and all of a sudden she deserved what happened to her and should still be in it, that's what I have to say about that. All right, but what do you all think? Is it right the way they continue to do that to her? They do it to JD. These people seem to target specific individuals. I've noticed this. Self-admitted people watcher. They go after particular individuals. You ever notice that they just really want to smear? Others they protect, even when they're guilty as hell. They smear JD. They smear Brittany. They smear people like, rightfully or wrongfully, Kevin Spacey. I don't know his case. He may be guilty as hell. But the point is, the media targets a specific type of individual. Usually, it's the individuals that refuse to play ball, who refuse to narrow themselves into a particular type of personality to please others. And more often than not, whether addressed out there and out loud in the media or not, it's usually some form of disability, mental health, some form of something that makes them different and a little bit more vulnerable than the rest. They attack them like wolves. Is it just me? Am I the only one noticing this? Anyone who falls outside of the mold, anyone who won't walk lockstep. And there are some of us out there who've never walked lockstep a day in our lives. So what are we thinking on this, folks? You know, I'm kind of ranting here. I'm just kind of waiting to see what you guys have to say in the comments. And while I do, if you don't mind, it's been that kind of day. What are you thinking about all this? And am I just seeing something that isn't there? My point. Right here. Right here. And there's so many stories out there. Look at what is happening with these evangelical schools, the trafficking, the pedophilia, the abuse, unpaid labor. Let's talk about places like the JRC, basically hell on earth. Let's talk about, for God's sake, the war with Russia and Ukraine is still going on while we're talking. You have people losing their homes with college degrees. You have writers on strike. Chairman, this is an open panel, hon. If you go up to the top tweet there, you should see the little pinned link to come on in. Let me know if you need me to put it in the chat again. We got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. Places like the JRC, places like those schools, the double teen industry, holy crap. Good. You want to talk about story after story after story? Yeah. But apparently none of these are quite as newsworthy as what Depp spends his money on. I'll put it into the chat, Chairman. Hold on just a second. If it will let me. No, I do not want to put myself in timeout. Sean B. or somebody who can copy and paste, because I cannot. Anyone mind doing that link for me? Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, I see. Holy crap. All right, hold on a second. Thank you for pointing that out. Hold on, folks. I am not operating at full capacity today. Hold on. I got to get this pulled up here. Bear with me. Okay, here we go. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't even notice. Holy crap. There you are, Chairman. There's the link. Should get you pulled up there. But seriously, though, I didn't used to pay attention to celebrity news because, quite frankly, I didn't care. I am there to watch their movies and whatever art that they're putting out there. Their personalized isn't my business. But joining social media just gets continuously slammed in my face.
Hey.
Hey, Chairman.
Boy.
So what's your take on this? Because they've been going after both of them. They've gone after Manson, and it seems to me they target the media, a particular type.
The media needs to do its job and report real news, not this stupid stuff.
Like slamming on Britney.
Yeah.
Must be a day that ends in a Y. Slam on Deb, and God, they've been slamming on Manson's for years. Years. Before even social media was a thing. But they target, it seems to be, particular individuals. All of us that are unashamedly not fitting their stereotypes.
Yeah.
They get particularly vicious if you're openly disabled, I've experienced in real life, and won't fit the stereotype.
Why am I not surprised?
Because to them, I can't be autistic. I don't fit the Hollywood stereotype.
Neither do I.
None of us do. If you go to any of these conventions for disability rights, any of the protests, all these individuals, even people with disabilities who are nonverbal, know what's going on. But it's like they have this collective thing, the media, that because we don't conform to the stereotype that they've created with us, that means they have the right to go full guns blazing. They were fine with Britney until she started to take off the mask and just be herself. And I was never a big fan of the girl. I'm still not. I'm not a fan of that music. And when I was a teenager, I hated it with my whole soul. But yeah, this is insane. They target her. They target him. For God's sake, they target Rihanna simply because she stepped out of the role they put for her long enough to uplift another survivor, God forbid. So what do you think, Sean B? I know you've been kind of writing a little bit here. What do you think about this? Is it just me, or do they target a particular type of individual when they decide to go after a celebrity? I mean, to kind of seem fair and balanced, they may report on other celebrities about small things that nobody cares about. There's ones they target big time. And then there's the ones they fawn over. Like AH. God knows why. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and autistic and I catch things most people don't. But God, she's fake. Even her so-called interest one-on-one with others that are caught on the camera scream fake.
Yeah.
You know the feeling of
Her
someone who's
best
acting.
role. Her best role was in, I believe, she was in Machete Kills. She played a psychotic beauty pageant queen. AH.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that was her best role ever because it was reality.
I don't understand. Like, no, we can admit that she was beautiful once. I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't do that. Because I've seen 10 of her at one of my former call centers. It is one of those bottle bleached blondes. There's a reason why that's a stereotype.
Yeah. Hydrogen peroxide bleach blonde. Jeez.
We used to joke that the hydrogen peroxide had rotted their brains.
Probably has.
But no, we're going to fawn all over her because she uses the right buzzwords. We're going to completely ignore her blatant ableism because ableism, folks, is the only prejudice still left in the world that the media, by and large, is still okay with. Has anybody else noticed that, or is it just me? No, she won't. She decided to gaslight the entirety of the neurodiversity movement in her recent interview at that film festival, that her movie that demonizes us and pushes cure culture is about love. I got a lot of words. I can't say them all or I'd get banned.
Yeah.
But that's okay, though. We can be ableist and hateful towards autistics, ADHDers, Down syndrome, all of us who are neurodivergent. That's okay. The media thinks that's fine and dandy. And we must meet those crazy autistics. And by the way, our movement's made up of more than just autistics, but don't tell the media that.
Yeah.
But we're just unhinged and we're not being fair. I got your fair. That's your fair. You're not inclusive. You're not diversive. You're just catering to the brain dead crowd. And anybody who sits there and tries to tell me they're woke while regurgitating talking points from the so-called media outlets, you're not woke. You are the most asleep effer out there. I'm not sorry to say it. If you buy what the TV and social media tells you without any form of, fact checking, you're not awake. Memorizing and regurgitating talking points does not allude to one who is awake. I'm just saying. Because there's no brain power in memorization. I would know. I'm exceptionally good at memorization, have been since I was a little kid. It's second nature. I'm very good at it. It requires next to no brain cells. All you gotta have is a really good memory and the ability to open your mouth and say words. It's not brave. It's not stunning. Brave is Andre McCullin staring down the people who tortured him for 7 hours in the New York Senate with his mom to push that Andre's bill to end all New York students going to that school. That's brave. Oh, but let me guess, he's a guy, so probably doesn't count, right? I've always said I've got opinions. And I love this thing, by the way. Oh, women, don't be afraid to voice your opinions. I stand with JD and I stand with the survivors of the JRC. Not those opinions. If you voice the opinions that we give to you, then you're brave and stunning. This is what we live in now. We don't actually highlight real bravery. Real bravery is Greg Miller, the man who risked everything. He wasn't rich. He didn't have millions of dollars. What he had was a conscience and a voice. He left that school. He blowed the doors wide open on what was going beyond the closed doors at the JRC. He did it with not a penny to earn to him. He did it in spite of what he knew the JRC would do to him. Now that's bravery. Where are the puff pieces praising that kind of bravery? The best part is Sean B says that AH is not even a real victim, yet there are people out there who either ideologically believe she is or they know that she is not a victim and they still side with her. It's sick. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. If I'm to believe that the news is non-biased and actually looking out for all of us, why isn't the story of people like Greg Miller and Andre McCollins and Jennifer Basumba being told? Why are there not people out there right now protesting about the 6 deaths of young kids from that school? Why is not the troubled teen industry who takes in disabled and kids with mental health issues with no capacity and no professionals to be able to give them the ability to do so, and they sexually abuse and traffic those kids? It's been a huge story covered by journalists that nobody will put on mainstream news.
Because they don't care.
But if our local reporters did a massive investigation, a real investigation, into those evangelical schools that line from Florida all the way to California, the sex trafficking, the lies, the kiddie porn, nothing. Crickets. But let's make a big international scandal on how Depp spends his money. If I were a journalist, places like the JRC and these evangelical troubled teen schools, think about it. They have everything. Corrupt, political and otherwise, corruption, greed, power. You've got true, honest, real victims whose lives were systematically destroyed, the ones who've managed to survive. There are real stories out there, and they're being ignored because the media is too busy smearing people stepping outside of the mold, because somehow that's more disturbing to them than what's being done to those kids. I don't know. I mean, I think they attack Depp, they attack Spears. They've gone after Rihanna in the past. They go after these Manson. God, they've been going after Manson since. And Eminem and all these people, and it's always the same people. They are the scapegoats for the media. They are the go-to people that they use to tarnish. And they just leapt at AH's accusations because, let's face it, they've been looking for something to pin on Depp for decades. I do not feel like it's a coincidence. They pushed Britney to the breaking point, put her in the conservatorship, and now it's history repeats itself. They're doing all the same things. Any sane person, you don't have to be autistic or otherwise disabled like us, any sane person would crack under that kind of pressure. It's why many celebs who got tired of it don't live in the United States anymore. Although the UK is becoming not too much better. But yeah, that's why I called this week and what the actual fuck, because did you see the Ukraine thing, Chairman, when they were trying to say that Depp was a Putin supporter? He said he'd see Russia soon, when that's not even what he said. They're still spreading it, by the way. The Ukraine people who took it as an insult have since apologized and retracted their statements because they have this thing called integrity. But other people, they're still spreading.
If they had real integrity, they wouldn't have said that in the first place.
Fact checking is a very simple thing to do.
Yeah.
It used to be a part of a journalist's job to not just spread rumors and actually fact check. They're allowed to have opinions, yes, but fact check.
Yeah.
Now people can just write whatever fan fiction they want and post it on a blog and still get paid for it.
Well, depending on what platform. If you're over 1 million subscribers, apparently you can do that on YouTube. But if you're like you and me, we can't do that.
Nope, because people like you and I, we don't do this for clicks. We're not trying to be popular. We know we're not going to make money.
Yeah.
I would like to.
Yeah, so would I, because I need it, because I'm broke right now. I am smash broke.
Right.
Yeah.
Being disabled is not as lucrative as GOP politicians.
Makes it out to be. Makes it out. No.
Not even a little bit.
I need to replace my cell phone battery, but I can't even afford a new one right now. It's starting to go bad.
The only time we make any so-called big expenditures is when we get taxes in, and that's usually to pay medical bills.
Yeah.
No, there's real stories out there. There's real victims. They sit there and say, we're for women. We're for women's rights. AH. Jennifer Masamba's just right over there. And she's even everything the media totes you to need to listen to. She's a biracial woman. She has a disability. She's autistic. And she was tortured and essayed in the hellscape that was the JRC. She was starved. She was sleep deprived. She was isolated and unallowed to speak to her family without having a staff member present to mark every word that she said to them. She's right there. You want to say you support a victim? Nothing. It's all lies. It's lies, smoke screens, and bull. And if you believe it, you're not awake. You are the most deep in sleep. I'll bleep myself or out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the Gen X coming out of me, but by God, my generation knew you could not trust the media. We just inherently knew that. I mean, the fool. That was our culture. Our culture was the anti-PC movement. We wanted it out of our movies, out of our video games. We wanted it out of the media. And we fought for that. And I don't know, maybe I'm old, but what the hell happened? We went from allowing art to be art because that was our fight to whatever this is. I'm so confused. What happened and where was I? I know, Tim, you were around for the anti-PC days, I'm sure.
Well, I was born in '76, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. About the same generation as my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we were the nihilist generation. We knew it was bullshit. We could see through it. I don't understand this idea of just shut your mouth and go along, because that will never be me. I could never be that person. I will never just go along. And God help you try to keep me silent, because my mom's been trying to figure out that trick for years. It really is trying to shut me up. That's the trick. Sean B says, you know what really bothers me a lot? Abuse apologists bother me a whole lot. Abuse apologists from the Depp versus Heard case. Abuse apologists from the Gabby Petito Brian Landry murder case. And I will say the goddamn fuckers that excuse what the JRC does. That excuse what places like Agape do. And they say that I don't understand. These kids are out of control. Those abuse apologists in particular. Now, granted, I agree with you with the abuse apologists for AH and the Gabby Petito case 100%. But I guess mainly it's because I'm deep into those two particular cases. with Agape, with JRC, the horrors that are committed against disabled people every day, and nobody says a damn word except for the abuse apologists. You don't understand. They would be dead or drugged into a coma. This is the only ways to torture them. Those people are the scum of the earth.
Bunch of Nazis.
Scum of the earth.
That's right, I said it. Nazis. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Matthew Israel is simply Yosef Mengele.
Yeah, big time.
Except he
I've
chose,
even said it. I've even said it in your videos in the comments. I've even said it. Yosef Mengele. Yep.
the only difference is he chose to target. I know Mengele did experiments on disabled people. He worked with Dr. Asperger's, which was why the majority of us no longer use that term.
Yeah.
But in particular, he targeted us.
Mm-hmm.
And he did so deliberately because he knew that we were the people that he could do whatever he wanted to us, and it would cause the minimalist amount of fuss. And God damn him to hell, he was right.
Yep. He injected gasoline in the people.
Now, I'm talking about Matthew Israel chose disabled people in particular.
Yeah. Well,
because he knew that what happened to us, people would have minimum fuss. And I hate to say it, but the media and everybody's proven them right in it. I hate it.
mm-hmm. Yosef Mengele injected disabled people with gasoline.
I know.
Gasoline. What the hell is that supposed to prove?
Abuse of any kind is never okay. Exactly, Sean. Exactly. What's happening to those kids? What's going on behind closed doors? Those kids who speak out. You know, one of the reasons why within the neurodivergent community we don't trust the media is we got places like the New York Post calling people like Andre McCollins a thug.
Mm-hmm.
If you better believe I went off. They've posted puff pieces, New York Times, New York Post, about a family's valiant struggle to keep their kids at the JRC. These are the things that give me extremely violent urges.
Yeah.
Oh, but you should trust the media. AH is a victim. You should listen to the New York Times and the New York Post, the same people who says what the JRC does is not wrong, who've refused to even look at Autistic Hoya's massive archive. You have page after page after page of receipts. I've been using that archive as the main fount of information for my channel for the last 2 years, and we still haven't made a dent. Those of us who fight the JRC, our receipts have receipts.
People just don't care.
Unless
I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but nobody cares.
Believe me, we
Not enough.
See, even if it's horrifying, if it's in an individual group you don't particularly care about, you'll be offended for all 5 minutes. You might give us a brief amount of airtime like they did in 2012, and then that evaporates away like it's nothing, while
Yeah,
it continues to go on and on and on, decades after Andre's case.
yeah. Well, I like to quote that scene in Batman and The Dark Knight where the Joker um, talks about morality, people's morality. How did he put it? If
Like, even
one,
when a van full of soldiers blows up, even if it's
oh,
horrifying,
nobody cares. But if one little mayor dies, then everyone starts losing their minds, or something like that. I can't remember exactly word for word, but yeah, yeah. If it's somebody that's important, everybody flips out. But if it's somebody that nobody knows, no, nobody cares.
and then
Nobody
there's
cares.
people like me.
Yeah, well, like me too.
What's made me a semi public figure is the very same thing that has gotten me and people like me and JD vilified. Because I'm outside the stereotype and I have developed some strange talent where I can explain different things about autism in a way that a neurotypical can understand, which is
Yeah,
what brought me to visibility in the first place. And
yeah,
I don't look like they do in the movies.
yeah.
I hate to say it, this is not to stroke my own ego. I became the pinup doll. It's part of the reason why that other persona, my mask, I call it the doll for that particular reason.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you always know when I've been out being the doll, because those are the few times I come onto camera with the makeup and everything.
yeah. Well, lately I've had to keep my mask on when I'm on YouTube because the past 5 days I've been kicked out of 5 different YouTube channels because I'm supporting a person that a lot of people don't seem to like on YouTube.
Here's the thing, why are we canceling people for being friends with people?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people go after Is. I don't agree with everything that Is says, but I'm this thing called an adult where I can agree to disagree and
Agree.
still see value in that individual.
Hmm.
I'm still going to fight what I fight for. I'm going to defend those drag queens out here in this state that are being put through hell, lied about, and lambasted every day. Their rights restricted more and more every single day. And it doesn't have to agree with me or my stance on transgender, which I obviously stand with them. I know what it's like to be forced to be something I'm not. Most autistics
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, me too. I've had a.
Most of us
I've.
disabled people understand. We may not understand what it feels like to be born in the wrong body, but boy, do we understand being forced to mask.
Yep.
We can agree to disagree there. But I'm
Yeah.
an adult, I'm not a child who say you must disagree with me or you're a horrible person. That's not how any of this works in the real world. Seriously? My stance on Trump is very simple. I dislike Trump. My reasons are very different from what the media lambasts people with all day.
Hmm.
I do not like that he pushed through the Autism Act, which continued the stereotyping, the ripping away of money and of rights. That's where my problem is.
Yeah. Or what about Autism Speaks? That's a fucking
Do
hoot.
not get me started, or this channel will never turn off again.
Yeah, well, yeah,
We will be
yeah,
on live until I'm 80.
yeah. That's a messed up little piece of work.
You want to talk about one of the most successful grifting companies in the whole world? Autism Speaks, who take in multi-billions of dollars a year in donations.
Yeah, off those little basket things. Yeah, those little donation basket thingies.
All obscure for this obscure further research for a cure. Not a dime of that money goes to services for kids. You have poor families with autistic kids, and they are starving. To be able to provide those kids with services, the parents, they can barely make it if they're making it at all. Some of them can't afford to be able to get services or even the money that it would take to get a proper assessment done. Not a dime. I know we did the deep dig years and years ago. It's going towards getting those kids proper services. I'm not talking ABA. I'm talking proper services. Proper transition age, you name it. Not one dime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever seen Mad Squirrel, but if you want to talk about coming from a parental view instead of the person with the disability, she's got a lot of things to say about Autism Speaks, and none of them are good.
And what's her name?
Mad Squirrel. She's on.
Bad Squirrel.
If you've heard the name before, it's because of Zod. And they've been on the channel and they've done some streams together. But yeah, no. And in 2013, even though they speak out against the JRC now, but 2013, after the Andre McCollins case had been settled, Autism Speaks put in JRC as one of their service providers in their pamphlets during one of their Walk for Autism campaigns. I actually have saved somewhere the actual documents from that particular Walk Now for Autism. I keep receipts. You'll actually also find it inside Autistic Hoya's archive as well. Most of us have screenshots that are like older than some of the kids on social media now. Thankfully, we were smart enough to save that and continue to save it. But yeah, they had at one of their Walk Now for Autism rallies, one of their pamphlets, the Judge Rotenberg Center as one of the service providers inside that pamphlet. Granted, it was 2013. They have since renounced them. But I'm sorry. You helped send kids to be tortured and abused and starved. I try to be more forgiving, but there's some things that is just beyond my ability. That was happening in 2013. That was after the 2012 case had been televised. That was after Anderson Cooper did a major spread on the JRC on his show. After NBC, ABC, and CNN had interviewed Jennifer Masamba. They knew at least vaguely, maybe not in the mass detail that we all do, because I have gone and deep dived into the rabbit hole that is the JRC, but they knew. And they still did it. Also, little known fact to most people around today, particularly Gen Z, but Autism Speaks was one of the major perpetuators of the anti-vax movement back in the day. The whole MMR vaccines cause autism. Yeah. Susan Wright, Dr. Anthony Wakefield, Andrew Wakefield, excuse me, Jenny McCarthy, for talking about another blonde that I despise on a special level, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And if you want to know how angry I am that he's supposedly a real contender for the presidency, I just keep praying for the comet to hit us. Because we need a reboot at this point. We sincerely need a reboot. And
I can't find that channel on YouTube. Bad Squirrel.
Did John F. Oh, Autism Speaks? They deleted it years ago.
No, the Bad Squirrel, the YouTube channel, or is that person
no longer be on YouTube? That I'm not sure about that.
Oh, okay.
And I do want to speak on the article because we're getting an hour in now.
Yeah, we're an hour and 6 minutes, almost 7.
But I did read on that article about the euthanasia. And on one hand, I see your point. On the other, we are living in a world where autistics are not being given the right resources, the right therapy, the right connection to individuals for mental health to deal with these emotions. That was my takeaway. Many people who are autistic are turned away from therapy the moment we get our diagnosis. Not kidding. This has been something that's been going viral in the indie community. People coming forward telling their stories about being turned away from their therapists and therapy and their access to mental health resources almost completely annihilated. We've got a mental health crisis going on, particularly with individuals who are autistic, ADHD, all of us. Our access to mental health has been, in a lot of places, highly restricted. And this is worldwide. This is not just US. It's one thing to condemn it. It's another to not see that there's another issue that's going on that could have nicked this whole thing in the bud, at least in a large way. Some individuals going to do what they're going to do, but when you do not have the proper kind of mental health professionals who are taught to specialize in individuals like this, and these people are not being given access to those resources, what do people think is going to happen? We hyper-focus. Some of us who've been suicidal will hyper-focus on suicidal ideation. We will circular think ourselves into thinking there is no hope. And when you don't have individuals that can support you, that you can go to, there's a void there, and it's a vacuum. And a lot of us are losing our lives because of it. This needs to be something that becomes important. But again, we can't report on real news. We can't report on real things that need to be done to help save people's lives. We got to report on what a celebrity spends or gets loans on. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Chairman, as always, I appreciate you coming on.
No problem.
Hey, folks, as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. We will see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.